Okay, I kind of timed it right, and we are back. NBA First Reformed Take. The Hawks have stormed back as we live react to a game that is over by the time you are hearing this. I'm Mike. Seth is here, and
Hello.
how you doing?
I'm doing okay. It's been another exciting day of work and trying to manage having a family, and now having to watch the first of several NBA play-in games. I put the game on earlier when it started with when my kids were still up, and my oldest complained that the shows I watch are always boring. And I
Fair.
said, how dare you say that a Hawks Magic play-in game for the seventh seed in the East is boring? And then my youngest helpfully informed my wife that we were watching the football team. So
Adam
uh,
Silver in shambles. Adam Bronze
it's
once again
especially bad.
defeated.
It's especially bad because she has taken basketball classes. I mean, obviously, I'd heard they're not doing anything besides just like practicing dribbling and stuff. But like, there was a steel drill in one of her classes where you just like just chase after the kid with the ball. And they had some of the older kids, like older siblings participate. And there was one girl who was like 9 or 10, and mine like immediately went after her. So like she didn't get the ball, but I'm like, she has that dog in her, which you like
Yeah,
to
no
see.
fair.
Yeah. She
Um,
let's see,
that's good. I mean,
Magic are starting to pull away from this again.
Yeah, it's gonna be the Magic.
Yeah.
It's whatever. We're not here for the play-in. We
Yeah,
nixed the playoff pod.
everybody else is doing a playoff pod or a live take on the play-in. That's we as the only leftist podcast
That's right.
in the world, the only
It's what
one.
we're being told.
Now that Hassan Abi has been deported to Nicaragua, we're the only ones left. Um, I assume we're next on Doge's hit list, but
Probably,
our
honestly.
OPSEC is simply too good for them to find us. But yeah, no, we decided, and by we I mean mostly mean me, decided to take things in something of a different direction, especially because now that the draft order is set, it is draft
Well, the
season.
lottery order
The
is set.
lottery is set. Yes, thank you. I think I sort of said that. The lotto order is set. The lottery is set. And I think the draft is something that's always near and dear to my heart. Last year's wasn't so exciting. This year's, I think, is going to be a little bit better.
Who got picked
Um,
first last year?
it was
I've
the
forgotten.
Hawks that we are watching as we speak. They
No,
took
I knew they had the first. Who'd they take?
Zachary Rissochet, I think you say
Right.
his name.
Yeah,
No,
Rich
okay.
Eisen.
I will
That one's
never
hard. That one's
I will never
I
live
haven't gotten
down
right.
mispronouncing Shay's name on the last
No, that's
episode,
bad.
but the
Rishizer
French name
is
is
how I
it
say it. I don't
Resizer?
know. I think I'm totally wrong though.
I have not watched anywhere near enough Hawks games to know because I don't even think they mentioned him on the broadcast once while I
No,
was
I don't care about
watching.
him at all.
Yeah, I mean he's had his moments, but like probably one of the more underwhelming first round picks in a long time.
Underwhelming class. Stefan Castle is going to win Rookie of the Year, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I can't say he doesn't deserve it, but he's a low efficiency point guard who was drafted because he was supposed to be, I think, a good defender, and he's not. But the Spurs without Wemby are kind of a bad defensive team generally, so it's always hard to separate what's bad team defense from what's individual defense outside of a situation where it's like and another Atlanta Hawk, Dyson Daniels, who's averaging, I think, 3.5 steals per game, while the rest of
Yeah,
the
he's
team
been
does
incredible.
literally
He's been
nothing.
incredible this year.
Yeah, not getting into award season chat, but I think my defensive player of the year award right now would be sort of a toss-up between Amen and Dyson. Uh, all of the betting odds suggest it's probably going to be Draymond Green because
Mobley,
or
I think,
Mobley.
just jumped up.
Did he?
I
It's
think
gone back and forth.
Draymond
It's gone
got,
back and forth.
yeah, I think Draymond might have peaked
Okay,
on his
okay.
odds. I'm hoping.
I think Draymond would genuinely be the worst of the
Yeah.
plausible selections.
Yeah, I
And it
don't
just
see how he
feels
deserves it. I
Correct.
really
And
don't.
he doesn't,
I
but he's going to win because voters are lazy and stupid and
Yeah.
bribed and I don't know. Can we call them
Um,
pedophiles? Are we going that far on this
no, we
podcast or no?
can't.
No.
Although
But
who knows?
this is not true anon, which does not count as a leftist
I
podcast. It
don't
is
know if I
post
talked to
leftist.
you about it, but I think I mentioned it. The idea that NBA odds shifted like radically on one of the minor categories after Zach Lowe said he was going to vote for someone because apparently they all kind of follow Zach Lowe
Follow the
and like they
herd.
heard around him, which
Hmm.
makes more sense to me now why he gave up his all NBA votes because he didn't like how it affected contracts and like I agree with him.
That actually
Um,
does make a lot of sense.
but it really tracks if they're all just kind of hurting, which they are.
So why doesn't he just like short the market? Like why doesn't he just pull a Donald Trump and be
I
like,
don't know.
"Oh, I'm instituting the basketball tariff on Jalen Brunson's odds of winning
Yeah,
clutch
maybe he
player of the
is.
year." And then when the odds shift, he just places a huge bet and then when he's like, "Oh, I'm actually not voting for him," they shift back and he cashes out. I mean, I think I'm doing that backwards.
That's
That's
how
right
we
though.
would do it. That's
Right, because
our brain.
we have
No
no moral
honor.
fiber. No,
We're
we
a
have no.
Yabushige
We are
brain.
completely we are completely yabo pilled, and I don't know how many people will listen to this episode or any of our other episodes, but I genuinely encourage everybody to watch Shogun. That was the heck, I
Well,
think we
it was a
watched it on
limited
streaming,
series. It was
so
Hulu.
it's getting a second season.
Exactly. It was limited. Now it's getting a second season. I would suggest they watch Shogun 1980 while they're at it. One of my
That's not a bad.
favorites as a kid.
That is a fun show. Read the book too if you have time to
I
get
probably
through
will do that this summer.
a 1100-page treatise by a white man who had never been to Japan and was
Yeah, it's so
kind of just
cool.
making shit up, but it still really
So cool.
works.
Oh, he wasn't in Japan at all in the war, maybe? Not even?
I have no idea how
Because
old
I
James
thought he was
Clavell
a
was.
POW, but I don't know
I
where.
he definitely had something going on because like he had his first book was about
I
like
kind of thought he
the
was a
US
POW in
intelligence in like
Japan
Iraq.
and like
Really?
came out of being a POW there like this is cool. But I don't know.
So literally doing the Simpsons gag about subsisting on a thin stew of rice and prawns and not being able to find the recipe in the States except for your entire literary career. That is very
Yeah.
cool. Okay,
He was
let's
in Singapore. He was Singapore. He was imprisoned
okay.
in. So different. Let's get back to the NBA. I do have a
Yes.
TV pod I might do tomorrow. I don't know why I'm enjoying podcasting as
Yeah.
much as I am, but I am.
But let's have now that we've burned 10 minutes of our 40-minute allotment,
This is a quick
let's
one though.
That's true. That's true. Let's get to the premise of today's show, which is so the draft lotto is set. There is legitimate talent at the top of the draft this year in Cooper Flagg, who had essentially one of the best college seasons by a freshman ever. Um,
NBA Paul Skeens, some people are calling him.
does does he have a girlfriend who's like significantly hotter than he is? Did I miss that?
I just think he's annoying.
He's annoying because he
I'm
went to
out on
Duke
Cooper
and is a
Flag.
white guy from Maine with like a horrible haircut. I mean, I think I enjoy watching him play. I like watching big wings who can pass and
You know
rebound
what?
and
I'm not going to
block.
comment on I'm going to avoid the podcaster's curse of making comments about people.
I
Um,
don't know what comment you were planning on making, but I am going to say a
well,
lot of
now it
people have
feels like
comped him
I'm.
to Jason Tatum. I'm just saying.
Yeah, there are some.
The Zaza got me feeling like the white Jason Tatum. Is that what we're looking at with Cooper Flag?
No, I was just looking up his personal life.
Okay, well let's
I
not.
got sucked into Kyle Filipowski and the Mormon girlfriend saga
Oh,
again.
that is quite the song. I'm victory lapping on Philip Kowski because I thought he should have been a first round pick, and he ended up having, I think, a decent rookie year. I mean, in a weak class, but still. Okay, so but there's some
Also,
legitimate talent.
YouTube, sorry, where I had a bad first MLB show. And I'm derailing this now in a different way, but there's just a YouTube video that says Cooper Flagg's lifestyle is not what you think. It's him with a
Oh,
bunch of sports cars. Um, I
I
don't know if I
don't
can
want to
live up
go
to as
there.
bad of a
That
thumbnail.
should probably be the thumbnail for this podcast.
Probably should
I don't
be.
know what the title should be. We can't lie again for the second straight week. Although
We'll see.
we kind of gave a leftist take on the Mike Malone firing, but I like what we
Yeah.
did with with what we did last week. But anyway, the premise of this week is because there was an actual, I would say, number one with a bullet prospect. This is going to be
Yes.
a draft lottery that will be rigged. Unlike
Probably.
last year's when the Hawks jumped up like 9 spot to get a
Yeah, they
guy
had
no one cared.
3% odds. I
Yeah,
looked at it.
yeah, get a guy no one cared about. A number of teams could use Flag. I think he's the kind of player that can alter a franchise for the better. So what our premise is this week is we're going to run through the draft order, the lottery order,
Yep.
and we're gonna on a scale of we're gonna rank teams by how likely we think the draft is going to be rigged for them. I thought of I think your tier system makes more sense, but I think my original idea was a 1 to 14 scale
Yeah, we'll have them in order
yeah
because it's only
with one
14 to
yeah
keep track of.
with one being Adam Silver will freeze the envelope himself personally, and 14 being the Charlotte Hornets. So let's get right to it. I'm gonna
Oh,
click
let me
over.
just do one
Okay.
lucky sim lottery to
Let's see who we get.
start.
It's gonna be the Hornets. Just watch. This is gonna be so funny.
Washington with the
Oh, what?
Hornets number
But the
two.
Hornets get two. Well,
Um,
which would put them in a weird spot because I think they
Ace
would just
Bailey.
take. No, they already have like three Ace Baileys. I think they would just take Dylan Harper and he would just play point when LaMelo inevitably gets hurt.
Oh,
Like
or leaves.
Harper, I think is actually like pretty firmly locked in at two. I tend to agree with that. We'll do our draft pervert
Yeah,
preview
that's definitely
sometime
way more
closer to
your area than mine.
sometime closer to May or sometime closer to June, probably. But for now, I want to talk about just rigging the lotto because it will be rigged this year.
Yep.
And who we think. So let's. You'd have the teams in draft.
These are actually in
That's the
order
order,
from
correct? Yeah.
likelihood.
Okay.
Do
Okay.
we want to start at
Um,
the top or bottom?
we should start from the top. So the Utah Jazz. I think that's probably like B tier rigged. They're not a marquee franchise. They don't have, I think, sort of the direction that the NBA wants to see them. I don't know what they're doing with Laurie. They don't really. They have some interesting young talent, but like some reason Jordan Clarkson's still there, Colin Sexton's still there, and they're not doing anything with those guys.
I-
Um,
I'm gonna hop in with my
On the other
disagreement.
hand, well, no, this is a point counterpoint, but I want to finish mine first and just say that the one thing that I think bumps them up a bit is that you are sending maybe the whitest potential superstar since Larry Bird to the
Uh-huh.
whitest fan base. I think there's obviously some sense in that from the front office's perspective. You want this guy's jersey to sell. But like I just don't think the Jazz can do that much with him. I don't think they've earned the right to stick at number one. But you have the Jazz at A. So
I
what's your
do.
argument?
Everything you said, but with money in the market, expanding market with money, with
Oh,
corporate
and
money.
what's his name? Ryan Smith is like he's throwing money around. Like he's trying to turn BYU into like a big
Yeah,
program. He just
they're.
bought a whole ass hockey team.
I
That's
mean, if you're gonna
fair.
buy the draft lottery, it's gonna be these guys, in my opinion.
I think you're
Um,
correct, but I don't think the draft lottery is bought. I think
I
it's
don't
one
think
of
so
those
either.
things where I will give Adam Silver some credit. He is thinking about the league holistically. There's a reason he
I
sent
think there's
Wemby
a
to the
holistic
Spurs.
case for Utah, though. I think
On what grounds? I mean, I do want to hear that.
build up just the value of this franchise, kind of once
You
proud in the 90s.
think? Well, yeah, but like, do they really want to remind people heavily of Karl Malone and John Stockton? I don't think so.
Apparently, they were at the All-Star game like last year. They loved Karl Malone for whatever
Oh, that's
reason. It's
so embarrassing.
crazy, but it's true.
Although a
Um,
guy who is a pedophile who wants to murder his immigrants is like extremely in with the Doge crowd right now. So I
yeah,
can kind of see why the NBA is maybe shifting their priorities. Okay, so they're probably somewhere. we'll split
They're
between the
low A,
A and
high
B tier.
B, and
Fine. So
I'll
yeah.
drop them down as we go
Okay,
if we
okay.
get people above them.
Let's move to the Wizards. I think they're pretty squarely A tier.
I do too.
Washington, even though they've never really been a relevant franchise, they've had some moments where, they won the John Wall lottery. They had a pretty good stretch there. I think if Wall doesn't get hurt, maybe they make at least one NBA finals with him. They've never been a marquee franchise, but like they're in a big market. They're in a market that likes basketball a lot. And they've shown they can develop a young core. I like a lot of their young guys. I like Bylaw, I like Alex Sarr, I like Bub Carrington.
It
Um,
feels like the most logical place if you want Cooper Flag to succeed
right.
on a bad team.
Yes, if you are looking to send Cooper Flagg to a team that he can turn around, I
This
think
is the
the
spot.
Wizards do make sense there.
They're borderline S for me, honestly. Maybe
Yeah,
we
yeah,
just don't
and
have an S, but if I'm Adam Silver, I'm just sending him to Washington. Like,
yeah, I
no
mean, I don't
problem.
know. I don't think they're a slam dunk. The envelope is frozen, but like they're close to the top. But
Yeah, let's
I
keep
do
them
have,
top of A. We might
I
just not
do
have an
have,
S.
I do have an S tier team,
All
but we'll
right,
get there.
we'll
We'll
keep them
get
A
there.
then. I like the way this looks
Okay, yeah, for
right
now.
now.
Okay,
I'll
next
lead
team
off with the
order.
Hornets.
Oh, well,
You should not send anyone to the
no.
Hornets. It's a disaster
This has
franchise.
to be a dead F. Did you see the other day? So that their coach come out and say that LaMelo needs to put on more muscle.
I don't know. They're gonna
That
trade him.
well, I mean, he has no trade value, but that pissed me off on like two levels. Level one is LaMelo is made out of tissue paper. He cannot carry more weight or he will explode. Number two level is coaches do that kind of shit all the time where they run their mouth in the media about what their
Mhm.
best players are doing wrong. I keep that shit in house. I hate that. You may be
So
correct. He
maybe
probably is
don't.
correct that LaMelo needs to get struggle. How do you think it's going to make him and the rest of the players feel when you are willing to throw him under the bus for your shitty coaching job?
I mean, I hate
That
the
kind of stuff
Mavs.
happens all the time.
I hate
Well,
the Mavs, but they kept it mostly in house with how much they absolutely clearly despised Luka
they have
Doncic.
not kept anything in
Not
house.
now,
Not now, not now.
but before the
Um,
trade.
that's true, and it's kind of weird because I think some of the criticisms of Luca's conditioning are at least a little
I think a
legit.
lot of
But
them were.
again, you keep that in house, and they're only bringing it out now. Like if you don't, if you want to trade a guy and go knives out, I think that's petty. But he's not on the
Yeah.
team anymore, so what? You're not gonna hurt his feelings. And if you do, who cares? He's not on the team. So, but yeah, the Hornets are a disaster franchise. I think a non-zero chance they keep a top four spot and end up with someone like Ace Bailey
Yeah, that'd be great. I
or
just think
VJ
it's
Edgecombe, who's my number three guy, and he's fun. He's kind of like a skinny Anthony Edwards. He's a great defender. I don't
I
want him on the Hornets, but like usually the shitty teams don't fall completely out of the top four. Their odds are
they're 14. No, they're little.
they're
No,
12
I'm
they're
right. They're
14%. They're
14%.
one of the teams that in theory could come up with the top spot. The
I don't
only
see it.
thing
I know you
no,
could send him as a savior. I think it would be such a dumb
the
idea.
only reason it makes sense is that he's a Duke guy, and the Charlotte Hornets have always run, I would say, a distant third at best
Yeah.
between Duke and North Carolina in the state of
But I
Carolina.
don't think he's a
And
Duke
this,
guy. I don't think he's a Duke like a Dukie's Duke guy. If he won a title, he would have been maybe. But
yeah, I don't think he
think
gets. And first of all, like you're not going to
I
get
don't
the
think he's more than
UNC.
Tatum is.
No, and you're not going to get the UNC or Wake Forest fans to care about Charlotte just because Cooper Flagg's there. They're stone cold last on this.
I mean, you will if he's good enough, if he's that deal, but I don't see him high. I might not agree that they're last, but it's
I don't
pretty
know.
close.
It's pretty close. It's pretty
And
close.
that's
Okay.
about all I'd say. I have New Orleans low too.
I think D is
That
reasonable.
that feels like just making the same mistake and doubling down on the Zion mistake.
Yes. And on the Anthony Davis mistake too. I mean, they've had two guys who
Yeah.
were supposed to be what Cooper Flagg is, who did not fix that team. And now they were right to fire their GM, but they brought in Joe Dumars, who I don't think is particularly
Uh,
competent
I have a case for moving them up.
on
What if you're going to move the team? Would it help to do that? Like move them out of New Orleans, which I think the
if
NBA
there
is
was
considering.
where are you getting that from?
Intuition.
You came to you in a dream.
I don't
Source
know.
source
It's
you made it up.
yeah.
No, if they're going to move the Pelicans, they would have moved them to Oklahoma City after Katrina. I think they are weirdly committed to trying to make basketball work there. If for no other reason, then it's not really a viable market. There's never going to be an MLB or NHL team in New Orleans, and the Saints are only there because Gail Benson
Honestly,
wanted to
I
help out the Catholic Church with all their
oh God,
child
speaking
molestation.
of, yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of want to
Um,
put them below the Hornets, but I'll
they're
leave
not below
them.
the Hornets. I do think,
Can we
you
tear them
know,
together? I really wouldn't
mm,
send him to New Orleans.
yeah, that's fine. You can put them on F tier. They're trending the wrong way, and I think a lot of the reasons
Also,
not to
those
send them to
logos look similar.
Utah, this is true, not to send them to Utah are even double that for New Orleans. Like that
Hmm.
franchise needs to show it get has their shit together. Like, and the other thing is they've
They've
had so
shown they
many
don't.
injuries. They've had so many injuries, which I think is a conditioning and culture thing. It's like we've already seen Flag narrowly avoid blowing out his ankle. Like he plays an aggro style of basketball that I think is may lend to a lot of minor injuries over the course of an 82 game season. Like you don't want the Pelicans trainers touching him. So yeah, I think
No.
F tier is reasonable on that. Moving on.
Sixers, dude, I don't know.
it if there is a wild card tier, I would probably put them on it. I'm gonna
I
say like
could
I think
make one at this point.
they're B tier. Honestly,
Yeah,
like
I do too.
I think any team in the B tier is where will Adam Silver at least think about it. And I think I know because like theoretically, like they get Flag and Embiid's healthy, um, and Paul George is back and Tyrese Maxey is back and McCain's back. Like that should be a good team. But guess what? They were
Yep.
supposed to be a good team without Flag. So I don't know.
I
I think
think
what's
for this one, it depends how badly damaged you think the Philadelphia market is about to get by
yeah.
Embiid and the disaster.
I
And
know.
I don't,
I think the 76ers, I think what the league wants them to do is blow it up. I think the league wants them to trade Embiid. I think they want them to try to dump Paul George. I don't know how you make the money work, but
I don't think you do.
and just rebuild around Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain and our favorite Gershon. Yes. How do you
Oh,
say his name?
Yabu.
Yabusele. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
He's also
forgot.
French. His name, he's just Yabu to us because
Yeah,
he
he's
is
Yabu.
Yabu. Um, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to end up with like the number 3 pick and work out a trade for like Kevin Durant, and it's going to suck and be really annoying for everybody.
I'm just moving him
Um,
down to C. I would be genuinely shocked if Philly won this.
yeah, and also
Um,
like the Sixers fans I follow on Twitter, although I haven't been on Twitter in weeks now, but the Sixers fans I do follow have been like really annoying about the tank and like
oh,
I
really? The
understand.
Sixers
Yeah,
fans are being annoying?
yeah, yeah. Not Trev. Trev's been fine, but like he's the only one I talk to regularly. They're all
Brendan's
like,
gonna get
"Oh,
mad at me because I
they're
did that
acting
without trying to be
entitled to
annoying. But
flag. They're acting entitled to flag, and I don't like that. And I sort of think the funniest outcome is them getting the number 2 pick and being like,
oh, we
well,
had 60 bad games. We deserve a generational
yeah,
player.
seriously. Yeah, I think the funniest outcome is them deciding not to take Dylan Harper and swinging for Ace Bailey, and then it turns out Ace Bailey is just the latest high Sixers draft pick who just doesn't pan out for whatever reason.
I really like
Um,
the Ace Bailey stat weaknesses just being like everything on Tankathon.
he
I don't.
he is we'll talk about him in a podcast in the future. I'm not super high on him. I think there's a non-zero chance he is a 6'9" Scoot Henderson,
Yeah,
which is not what you want. Are you seeing this ad for this movie, this Sinners movie?
I
Do we
almost no, I saw Paul American on Max. I
I
got
don't
an
know.
ad
We may be
for.
on. Okay, you're on Max. I'm on TNT
No,
Go
I'm on
something.
TNT.
Oh,
I
so I'm on a
also
web
was
below.
being distracted by an
Okay,
advertisement.
are you seeing this really horny Haagen-Dazs ad?
No, I'm seeing a Bill Durham TNT Sports ad.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. We're on different streams somehow.
But we were both
Haagen-Dazs ad.
distracted by ads, which
Yeah.
brings us to the Brooklyn Nets, who
Hmm. I'll
are
let you.
on the Sixers tier.
You
I don't
think?
know.
I think they may be B tier
Yeah, I think we might want
because
to boost them up because Cooper
the
in New
Nets
York
have
makes
never
sense.
really, they've never really had a true homegrown franchise superstar, or at least not since they moved to Brooklyn. I don't know if the last time they won the number one overall pick, it's been ages. And like, they could be interesting. They were better than their talent. I forget the name of their coach, but he was a rookie coach, and I think he was pretty good. It's not Jacques Vaughn. What the
Well,
heck is the
here's
guy's
Brooklyn
name?
Nets draft history. They've picked 1-1 twice, and they got Kenyon
Oh,
Martin
I
and Derek
completely
Coleman.
forgot about Derek Coleman. I think I knew Kenyon Martin, but it's 25 years ago now, you
Yeah,
know?
that's 35 years for
Okay,
Derek Coleman.
Jordy Fernandez is their coach. I think he has done a good job squeezing the most out of a marginal roster. They're going to have a decent amount of cap space. They held on to Claxton and both Camerons. I don't know. Flag would make them interesting right away. I think would still be
I
at
agree.
least two good pieces away, but like the Nets have just never been a premier franchise, and that to me is always sort of like the tiebreaker for these things.
Yeah, I'm gonna boost them above Utah. I think they're
I
very
think
similar
I agree with you on that. I think they're roughly even.
because you're making both of these bigger markets, but it feels like with the Nets, we haven't tried. I mean, I guess the Durant thing was tried famously, the
Yeah,
trio,
yeah.
but
And like that's the league I don't think is necessarily going to hold that against them,
right. I
although
was
it
gonna
didn't.
say, I don't think the league is mad at them because they kind of fell on their sword when it didn't
Mhm.
work. So I
Correct. They
respect the
broke it
Nets
up.
for
They
that.
broke it up very quickly, like way
They
quicker
died
than I
with
think.
honor.
They did die with honor. I think that does boost. I mean, they're still on the B tier, but like it does raise their esteem, I think, in the
Above
league's
the
eyes.
Sixers, who
Well, yeah.
I'm really not trying to do a bit of just complaining about the Sixers this whole show, but I've become hyper aware that I am doing
You're a
it because I
Celtics
hate
fan. You're
them.
allowed. Yeah, they are your ops. I mean, I don't even does Cleveland even have an op team? I guess the Knicks. Like Knicks fans were super fucking annoying about that
Fans are
series
just
2 years
annoying
ago. And
people.
they are yeah, we've talked about the Knicks fans before. Like if the Knicks had a
If they
lotto
ever won
pick,
anything, it would be hell.
it would be awful. It would be awful. Okay. Let's move on to
You can
Toronto.
list Toronto because I'm not sure what I think.
Well, I am only going to put Toronto in the A tier for one reason, and I'm looking at the reason why. A one of my favorite Twitter accounts is Chris Tashio, C Tashio 83984. He's Canadian James. He has been on the old podcast that Brendo and Mike Johnson ran, The Dismal Tide. He's been on several other podcasts. He's basically an alcoholic guy living in Nova Scotia. He is easily one of the funniest Twitter accounts, and I think if he was slightly more put together, he could be like a genuinely big account. He's also been suspended probably like 2 dozen times. So that makes it hard for him to have an audience. But he tweeted after the Cooper Flag game where he basically lost the game single-handedly, turning the ball over in Kentucky. Chris James tweeted, Cooper Flagg, aka American Dragon Bender, aka White Anthony Randolph, aka Josh McRoberts with PR agent, aka Joe Alexander 2.0. White Anthony Randolph has just completely stuck with me. And while I don't think that will happen, like that is the nightmare case scenario for Cooper Flagg. Like that is sort of his skill set. And like if you're that worried about his shooting and handling, which are probably his two biggest weaknesses, like that is sort of what the 99th percentile disaster looks like. But also the phrase white Anthony Randolph is really funny. So I have
Can
the
I
Raptors.
lower? I'm gonna make a case to lower Toronto.
No, you can put Toronto wherever. I only want to see them win because it would be really funny to needle James over this tweet. Because now it's like, are you gonna walk it back? Or are you gonna stick with your guns and die with honor? In reality, yeah, Toronto's probably a C tier. I don't
And
think
I
the
messed
league.
with the Sixers tiers to give us a
I know you
better
want to put them
tier
lower.
thing.
That's fine. Yeah.
My reason for Toronto that I just thought, I mean, everyone will think of this at some point, but are you going to send the white American player to Canada?
But
Because
he's from Maine, which is
yo,
basically
that's fair
evil
point.
Canada. If
But I
it,
just think he's
well,
such
no,
a
wait.
he's such a
The
bread ticket for the league
I
if
know,
he's
yeah, they're
good.
not. I don't, and like, yeah, they're not going to send him to Canada right now. There'll be tariffs on him.
Yeah,
He'll
exactly.
all of his free throws will be reduced by 75%, only count for a quarter of a point. No, he's not going to
We're
Canada, but it would be really funny to me.
we're low on time. I want to put the
How much do
next
we have
two team
left?
7.5 minutes.
Oh crap. Okay. Well, because I do want to talk about the Spurs because the Spurs are like D tier with an asterisk.
Right. And that's
And
where I
that
was going to put
asterisk
Houston
is
too.
well, no. The asterisk is if Wemby is fucked. Because if his
Oh,
health is
yeah. Well,
fucked, they are S tier. If they win the lottery, Wemby is fucked. But if he is fucked, they are going to give them flag because they like this franchise. They wanted Wemby to turn it around. He was turning around. If the article the other day where he refused to talk to reporters about what his treatment path has been really fucking
it's
shook
spooky.
me. It shook me a lot.
It's
If
spooky, but I think
I
he'll be okay.
I do not think he'll be okay, and I hope I'm wrong. And if I'm right, they are going to win the lottery and get flagged because the league has to do something to cover for the fact that he's never going to play again. And
I
frankly,
think they would just
I
make it up next year when
I
the
don't know.
Mormon
I
kid
don't
comes. I mean, I know
know.
he's not Mormon,
Not
but
actually Mormon. The Mormon kid may go to Utah if Utah's still bad
I
next year.
agree.
All right, so the Spurs are like objectively D tier with an
Right.
asterisk, and then the
The
Rockets.
Rockets have to be, that would be insane. It would be so funny to
It
just
would be
create a
very
super
funny.
team,
It would
but
be
it would be
very
an
funny.
insane move.
It would be a very funny thumb in the eye of the Suns, but
Yeah.
objectively, it's not going to Houston.
And I'd
Portland.
put them below the Spurs because if you're going to do an insane team up, I'd rather, I just think basketball makes more sense to let the Spurs be that good. Portland, I have towards F. Just like
Okay.
this franchise will ruin him. He will not
Yeah, I
defeat
don't
this.
trust I don't trust what Portland's doing.
Like
Um,
lower than New Orleans is
You
how
might
little
be
I trust
right. I
Portland.
think you're right. Yeah. And also at this point, plausibility factors in. Like if
Right.
Portland winning over New Orleans is less plausible. Miami Heat, they are my
Mm.
S tier team. I do think they screwed the pooch a little bit by catching on fire at the end of the year instead of tanking. Because if they were like
Oh
the
God.
seventh seed, I think that'd be more believable. But I think they're the S tier team.
I'll do it just so we can reverse jinx this away.
They
And
they
also because
want
if
they
you're gonna
want the
freeze the
Miami.
envelope, this is how
They
you do it.
yeah, they want Miami to be a marquee franchise. They bailed out another marquee franchise, trading Jimmy Butler to the Warriors and making them good again. I think this might be a slam dunk. And it's like, well, the team last year jumped up at 2%, so Miami went up 10. I think they
Oh, the
may do
Hawks
it.
was an op. The
No,
whole
it wasn't an op. I think it
that
just
was
gives
all
them
it was a
cover.
long con. It was a long con to provide cover.
No, I really have a bad feeling about this. The only other team I think with a realistic shot is Washington, and
I do
maybe
genuinely feel like Miami will jump.
I know maybe they just give them Dylan Harper, so there's some
Give him
plausible
like Ace
deniability. But
Bailey,
Ace
whatever.
Bailey, well,
If
Ace Bailey's not.
if he's top three, I don't
Okay.
know. He's
Uh,
already
Dallas Mavericks F tier. Yeah, you have to be.
I- I-
You got to be pretty salty. They might be D tier
I'm
behind the
gonna
Rock.
put
It's
them in this
only
like annoying group of teams where
the
there could be
only
a
the
deal.
I can see them winning at like the fourth pick because they did send Luka to the Lakers. I think the teams that because I think last year like somebody did a trade and ended up in the top four, and everyone was saying, oh well, they traded so and so to the Lakers or whatever. Like they're gonna get they're gonna get lotto help. I can't remember who that was, but Dallas I can see jumping up, but they're not giving him Cooper Flagg. I mean, you just traded Luca. I think you got to be a little irritated about that, but I can
Yeah,
see them getting
it
like the
would
fourth
drive
pick and getting
everyone.
like Edgecombe or Bailey or somebody. How much time do we have?
We have a few minutes. I think the Bulls and Hawks
Chicago.
are both C tier though.
I think Bulls might.
Franchises.
I would say Bulls are B tier and Hawks are C tier. Bulls
I could do that.
because the Bulls, like, you want them to come back to their glory days, but also, like, they're so badly run. But,
Yep.
like, they also, I mean, it's the East, and four games under 500 in the East is pretty dog shit, but, like, they're clearly squeezing the max out of their roster. Like, I mean, nobody thinks Josh Giddey is an all-star except for Australians and perverts, and I repeat myself, but
Hmm.
and then, but the Hawks, oh, well, we got to clarify something. The Hawks cannot get the number one pick.
Is that
It
true?
would, yeah, the Kings pick is protected 1 through 12. So if it jumps,
Uh,
the Kings would get. Now, granted, I think the Kings are still C tier. We don't have to change that.
I did
You're gonna
not
be,
know. I
you're gonna
did
be,
not know that the Hawks pick was protected. You're
yeah,
right. It is 1 through 12 protected.
yeah. I think
Let
only the Phoenix,
That makes me even more comfortable putting the Kings. I
yeah,
would
the Kings
have
are
pretty
clearly
much no
C tier.
difference. I
No,
bumped up the Sixers because like I just wanted it to be even, basically.
okay, it does look very pretty, but yeah, I mean, this is,
And I do like having the Texas tier of like
yeah.
throw him to Texas for some reason.
Do I really
Throw
think
him.
the envelope is frozen for the Heat? No, but like my guess is, can you circle the S through B tier? Because I was trying to do it on my screen and I'm not
I don't
recording.
know. How am I
Those are the
circling?
five teams where I think they will actually have ping pong balls, and everything else is just kind of fake. Uh,
Yeah.
Adam Silver will be spending a number of weeks considering who he wants them to. The Heat certainly would not surprise me. I would say anything past the Bulls would be genuinely surprising, except for the Spurs, and then that would be upsetting instead of surprising. That
I
because
would
I
say I
unless
really
unless
do
you
think he'll be a
genuinely believe,
Wizard net or Jazz. I really do. But I
yeah,
also see tomfoolery here,
yeah.
here. But I might bump up the Sixers. I just think they are such complainers that
I just did a sim just to mess around, and it was Utah, Philadelphia, New Orleans, Charlotte, and Washington picking
we have
five.
less than a minute. Let's do some Sims and just react.
How what
See
our
how
reaction would be if
miserable.
that? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Click
Um,
butane.
Ooh,
You
I'd be happy with Washington and Portland getting something. This would be great.
Yeah,
Could see a Chicago jump.
Portland's weird though, because like the second best player in the draft is a point guard, and they have three guards on
They
the
would ruin him
roster. Yeah, I don't like
without
Dylan Harper and Portland.
any.
What
Let's
else?
do one more.
Sure.
Um, it broke. It won't. New
Uh,
Orleans. So that's bullshit.
Unplausible. But Houston
Um,
leaping into the top four is sort of something I hope happens because it's really funny.
it would be
And
really
like
funny for the
and I
Suns
think and
just
I
to
like
eat dirt
genuinely
on
hope
this
they
whole
just
thing.
keep yeah, I genuinely hope they